this is where I'd take out my saxophone. That is, if I had a saxophone. I like to think that being a countdown maker has made me a better critic over these 5+ years. I like to think that, but that doesn't necessarily make that true. Many of my favorite characters are still heroes, and several characters I hate still happen to be villains. That being said, I've been doing a fair bit of thinking about what kind of villains appeal to me. After all, the villain is basically half the conflict. The result of these shower thoughts and late night ponderings have led to the list that you're about to see. Here are the 10 villains that appeal to me the most in terms of being good at doing evil. So hunker down in your favorite underground lair and let's get to chillin' like villains. It's game time! Aside from the puzzles, the main draw of the Professor Layton series is the story and characters. The villains in particular can be a highlight of the plot. Thing is, only 2 villains in the series appear in more than one game. Don Paolo tries to match wits with Layton in the original trilogy, but comically fails at it. On the other hand, Jean Descole from the prequel trilogy is more serious in matching wits with Layton and much better at it. Descole is one of the main antagonists of the prequel trilogy and is essentially the anti-Layton. Where Layton is a gentleman and is willing to put the well-being of others before his own, Descole is selfish and ruthless and will go to any lengths to achieve his goals. While Layton's pursuits are driven by curiosity and a desire for knowledge, Descole is motivated by anger and a desire for revenge against the Targent Agency for ruining his life. Above all, to be seen as Layton's nemesis requires an equally cunning mind, and that's what sets Descole apart from other villains in the series. He's a master of disguise, managing to fool many of the cast before his true nature is revealed. He's a skilled inventor, responsible for several weapons and inventions. He's a master manipulator, knowing how to push others' buttons for his own gain. He's also a skilled combatant, being skilled with a sword and able to match Layton in a duel. He's even gotten the better of the Professor on at least one occasion. Not bad, when you consider that his arch-rival can weaponize a slot machine. So, what kind of villain appeals to you? The kind of comical villain that can make you laugh, the variety you can't take seriously at all? Or the kind of menacing villain that demands you take them seriously? Get you a villain that can do both! Sonic's eternal nemesis that not even name localization can keep down, Dr. Eggman sees it fit to combine both comedy and cruelty in one portly package. Starting from his humble beginnings of using innocent forest creatures to power his robotic workforce, Eggman has always been a thorn in Sonic's side as he plots to take over the world and build his nightmare amusement park. Believe me when I say this, if his vision for a global empire is anything like Eggman Land, Sonic's got every reason to stand in his way. Over the years, Eggman's personality has seen a bit of a shift, as has his design. I'd say they're both for the better. I mean, would you take this more seriously than this? As far as personality, in the Sonic Adventure games, he was a bit of a tryhard in terms of trying to be menacing, but his personality has evolved into something a bit more comical, in that sort of Saturday morning kind of way. At the same time, however, he's retained that threatening presence and cruel nature. He's just a lot more entertaining as far as how he goes about it. And that's what I love most about Eggman, especially nowadays. He's such a ham!
Evil ham.
For a guy named after an egg, anyway. Oh hey, Final Fantasy is 30 this year! That's right, 30 years of Moogles, Chocobos, airships, summons, and a wide assortment of villains of varying quality. But for me, the most interesting face in this rogues gallery belongs to Kuja from Final Fantasy IX. First introduced to the story as a weapons broker for the supposed antagonist Queen Braum, he's actually manipulating the actions of Alexandria from behind the scenes. You see, he's actually a genome, an artificial being created by the sorcerer Garland to spread destruction and death to harvest the souls of Gaia so that their planet, Terra, can assimilate it. However, not having had a proper childhood and thus not having developed the emotions necessary to harness the power of trance, he was deemed a failure. This led to the creation of a replacement, which happens to be the main character Zidane. In spite of his poetic nature, seriously, he talks like he's from the Old English theater. His lack of remorse combined with his strong sense of self is what makes him so dangerous. However, it's his nature and attitude that make him interesting. He's arrogant, yes, but he's also extremely powerful and cunning. At the same time, however, he's insecure about his own existence as a tool for Garland. and by the end of the game, his narcissism and anger at his own temporary existence come to a head as he attempts to destroy the crystal that maintains the world because he believes the world should not exist without him. This kind of emotional turmoil makes him a very three-dimensional villain, even compared to the series' more famous bad guys. And as a side note, you never get the satisfaction of finishing him off. Both times you fight him, he ends it by wiping out your party with Ultima. Considering how narcissistic he is, that's one hell of a middle finger. Some villains are incredibly powerful, wielding ungodly power to unleash destruction upon the land. Some villains are cunning, playing the role of chess master and manipulating others to their own ends. Ganondorf has both of these on his side, which has made him one of the most iconic villains in gaming history. The primary antagonist of much of the Zelda series, whether in his humanoid form or as the Dark Beast Ganon, Ganondorf is known for his powerful dark magic, his overwhelming strength in combat, and his sinister plans as a strategist. Born to the Gerudo tribe, you know, that band of female desert thieves that only has one male every 100 years, Ganondorf also has the dubious mark of being the reincarnation of the hatred of the Demon King Demise. As a result, he would seek the Triforce in order to conquer Hyrule, and he would do whatever it took to achieve his ambitions, whether by force or by deception as a master manipulator. He is incredibly skilled in assessing a situation and determining nearly any factor that may threaten his plans and how to turn a situation to his advantage. In fact, in more than one case, Link and Zelda were unwittingly responsible for moving his plans forward. Even on his own, he wields incredible dark powers, mostly due to possessing the Triforce of Power. He's got the full spectrum: dark army of monsters, curses, possession, gargantuan strength, you name it. He's also extremely resilient, able to take a sword through the chest meant to execute him, and strong enough not only to easily break the chains that bound him, but also kill his would-be executioner. Keep in mind, the executioner was a spirit. Most importantly, Ganondorf is straight up intimidating. His mere presence can make an ordinary man sweat. Good thing Link isn't an ordinary man, am I right? You don't have to have ambitions on a universal, global, or any kind of grand scale to be a good villain. Sometimes you can be memorable for the lengths you go to just to antagonize a single person. That's the basic idea behind GLaDOS from Portal. When you first start up Portal, GLaDOS just seems like your standard issue guidance AI. Nothing too threatening, though not above a little snark here and there as you navigate the halls of Aperture Science in search of freedom and that sweet, sweet cake. Of course, once you complete the so-called final test and get nearly incinerated, you begin to see how twisted her motherboard really is. Turns out she's a real psychopathic bitch who's one destroyed morality core away from genocide by deadly neurotoxin. And the sequel shows she's not above the very human concept of revenge. Or humor, for that matter. It's kind of amazing how a single demented AI can have such depth to her character and portray all manner of emotions with a robotic monotone voice. I mean, the stuff she says is just so out there that it's hard not to find her entertaining. Even with her constant barrage of insults, I can never bring myself to hate her. And that's not even counting the various personality cores that are the fountain of memes during her own boss battle and the battle with Wheatley in Portal 2. Hell, she can even pull off being a potato in an enemy of my enemy situation. Speaking of which, it's also how I found out the disturbing truth about why GLaDOS is able to show such human dimensions. It seems cramming a human's consciousness into a computer at the demand of a downright crazy and ambitious dying science wonk can have a disconcerting effect on a person's brain. Science needs to just... not. Also, she has a better singing voice than half of modern pop stars. Just saying. Okay, this is coming back to what I said earlier about pondering what makes an effective villain. Truth is, calling characters bad simply because they do bad things, in retrospect, is something that I'm not proud of. Case in point, Yuki Terumi from BlazBlue. If a character is deliberately written to make you hate them, well, good on the writers, especially when the plot of your franchise has become a jumbled mess. Terumi is one of those villains in which I despise all the bullshit he does, but the way he does it is so expertly crafted to the point that he falls into the love-to-hate category. Terumi's only goal is to spread his vision of truth. Despair. What does he do in order to spread despair? Where do I start? Let's see, manipulating the two organizations he founded to suit his own purposes, abduction, near murder, torture, mass killing, unleashing a horrific monster which was the result of a failed experiment, betraying the team of heroes he was dragged into, the list goes on. To him, anyone and everyone is a victim and a plaything. If there's anyone who stands in his way, he won't waste any time breaking them, whether mentally or physically, until they're nothing but blubbering ninnies. It is literally what gives him life. even anchoring him to the physical world and allowing him to turn nearly any situation to his advantage, even when it seems like he's on the losing end. He feeds off the hatred and suffering of others, and that's the scariest part. He spreads chaos on every level, everywhere he goes. There are few characters that go out of their way like Terumi does just to make the lives of everyone around him a living hell and get such a high from it. He is the epitome of malicious trolling in video game villainy. The only way to overcome him is to not give him the hatred that he craves. Wait, were the writers trying to tell us something here? Okay, time for the obligatory Mega Man entry. So, the tough choice. Wily or Sigma? Wily or Sigma? The hell am I saying? Have people forgotten that Battle Network is a thing? While this series hasn't gotten as much love as Classic or X, it still has plenty of merit. It has a good story, an interesting twist on RPG gameplay, and some memorable characters, including its villains. The complete monster trope is so easy to screw up because if done wrong, said villain can end up as a cliché mess. Dr. Eagle does not fall into this trap. Introduced in Battle Network 4 as a leading scientist from an authoritarian nation, he offers to help deal with the approach of a doomsday asteroid. Meanwhile, an organization known as Nebula is spreading dark chips, which grant a Navi incredible power, but at the cost of what is essentially their souls. Flash forward through the rest of the game, Mega Man is assigned to stop the asteroid, which is actually a spaceship, but gets sidetracked and nearly deleted, and Dr. Regal volunteers instead. A little too convenient, right? Yep, Lan's dad connects the dots and outs Regal as the leader of Nebula just as the madman tries to hijack the asteroid, only for Lan and Mega Man to stop him. Does that stop him? Hell no! He comes back with his Darkloids to ravage the net one game later, searching for a program to complete a project left behind by Lan's granddad. His goal? Turn the world evil. That's what sets him apart from other Mega Man villains. Villains like Wily want to rule. Villains like Sigma want to destroy. Regal wants to create a world where laws, boundaries, and morality do not exist. He believes that evil is an inherent quality in humans and uses that power to spread his vision. From creating dark chips to corrupting our heroes, nothing is out of bounds for this guy. In fact, he's so unapologetically evil that his father, who happens to be this world's version of Wily, mind you, zaps his memory rather than try to reason with him. Regal's methods were too extreme for a father driven by his own hatred for network society. Wow. Coming back to the whole motivation thing I mentioned not too long ago, sometimes it can add a lot to a villain's character if it's fleshed out well enough. For example, is one born evil, or is evil thrust upon him? A possible result of the latter is the tragic villain, a type of villain that I find very fascinating. Villains who are victims of circumstances, driven to terrifying action because of a devastating experience. For me, the villain that best embodies this trope is the Lord of Mechonis, Egil from Xenoblade Chronicles. Even though he isn't introduced formally until a good portion of the game has passed, his grudge against the people of Bionis is on full display from the very start. The Battle of Sword Valley, the creation of the Face Mechon that plagued the colonies and set Shulk's journey into motion, using repurposed HOMs to power these Faced Mechon and essentially turn former friends and comrades against one another, threatening the destruction of Bionis itself, Egil is behind it all and he feels that it's something that he has to do. So, what's his damage? Well, quite a bit of damage in fact. Egil is a Machina, one of the race of Mechonis, who once believed in the possibility of peace between Bionis and Mechonis. But along the line somewhere, things decided to go raspberry. Like, say, Zanza, god of the Bionis, completely ravaging Mechonis with his posse of Telethia. And, say, making matters worse by possessing a giant with whom Egil had been friends. Yeah, that would piss off a Machina enough to want to kill a god. Unfortunately for Bionis, Egil's plan to do so would be to starve the beast, so to speak. By that I mean exterminate all life on Bionis so that Zanza could not regenerate. It wasn't until his final battle with Shulk that he realized that there was still hope for peace, thanks to his realization that Shulk had gone through the same pain that he had. In the end, what gets me about Egil is that he knows what he's doing is reprehensible. He knows innocent people are dying. He knows the destruction he's causing. But he's so blinded by his pain that he doesn't see any other way. Sometimes it takes a little empathy to open your eyes to the truth. A lesson that this world could take to heart if you ask me. Damn it, again? Yeah, I've talked about Hades before, both as a character and as a final boss, but it looks like I have reason to talk about him again, because, let's face it, not everyone who's watching this has seen my old work. And let's be honest, from the moment the Lord of the Underworld tears apart the fake credits and takes up the role of the main villain, he steals the entire show. In a game like Kid Icarus Uprising that's written in such a way that there are only 3 walls and a gaping hole, Hades is one of the most hilariously self-aware villains I've ever seen. He knows he's the big bad, and he delights in every evil action he commits and every joke and potshot he takes. Think Tyranny, but more flamboyant and much more entertaining. He's so chill and nonchalant in his manner that you can almost overlook his utter disregard for any and all life, especially towards the other characters, and particularly Pity Pat. Heck, most of the jokes, insults, and pranks he pulls are at Pit's expense, and I'm not gonna lie, Pit's reaction to some of them are part of the whole appeal. And yet, behind all this sarcastic and playful demeanor, he is a genuinely cruel and ruthless villain. He pulls the strings behind nearly everything, from the revival of Medusa, twice, to provoking Viridi, to even taking advantage of Palutena's parasitic possession. Also, he can harvest the souls of humans both for his own nourishment and to grow his army of monsters. And even when Pit's trying to focus his attention elsewhere, such as attending to the aforementioned crises that Hades helped cause, the big guy can't stay off the stage with his biting and sadistic wit and his malicious sense of humor. To him, the world is his playground to do with as he pleases, and everything and everyone around him are either toys, food, or resources. He doesn't care how the world burns. He doesn't care that he's disrupting the natural order. All he cares about is being as big as a delightful asshole as possible and watching everyone around him squirm. And the thing is, unlike Terami, he doesn't even need all that hatred from others to survive. He's messing with everyone for the lulz. Just goes to show you that one man's tragedy is another man, or God's, comedy. Now before we reveal my villain number 1, here are a few of my honorable mentions. Bowser from the Mario series for always being memorable. Sho Minamoto from The World Ends With You. 2 words, math obsession. Risky Boots from Shantae, a pernicious pirate with a penchant for plunder. Dracula from Castlevania, a well-done take on a classic horror character. And from Pokemon Sun and Moon, it's ya boy Guzma! SNK, a company that over the years has constructed a long, historic, and complicated legacy. Several seemingly unrelated series over the years have become part of a tangled web. So how does a company maintain order in such a twisted mess? Well, you could have a villain that has a presence in multiple connected franchises and whose actions have far-reaching influence even in games where he doesn't appear. Couldn't hurt, right? Geese Howard is a villain whose infamy extends far beyond simply being a cheap boss in a fighting game. The kingpin of Southtown's criminal underworld, Geese's shadow is so far-reaching that it's downright impressive. His story begins from a life in the gutter after his daddy abandoned him and his mother died, resulting in a failed assassination attempt, a failure that he could never get over. As a result, Geese came to believe in power above all else. Not only did he seek physical power through learning various martial arts, he also began building his connections with the Mafia. Eventually, he overthrew Mr. Big and became the kingpin of Southtown, hiding behind a facade of good publicity. First thing we see him do, order the kidnapping of Yuri Sakazaki to blackmail her father Takuma, leading to a battle between Takuma and his son Ryo. From there, Geese arranges the first King of Fighters tournaments to recruit potential underlings and weed out possible threats, gets on the bad side of Terry and Andy Bogart by killing their adopted father in cold blood in front of them, gets on the bad side of his own son Rock by refusing to help his ailing mother, Geese's own wife, mind you. Oh, and he survived a fall from a skyscraper thanks to one of a set of scrolls that supposedly grant immortality, and later planned to have the scrolls destroyed so that they couldn't be used against him. Also, he shows up in the split KOF timeline hoping to investigate the power of Orochi, both on his own and with the help of his henchman Billy, because SNK's writing teams can communicate good. Ultimately, what makes Geese such an interesting villain is his depth of character. Yeah, he has henchmen, but not only is he willing to get blood on his hands, he relishes it. At the same time, he has his own code of honor, never underestimating his opponents, especially after that loss to Terry. He also seems to have an interest in Japanese culture, which shows not only in his fighting style, but the decor in his stages as well. In the end, what puts Geese at the top is how human he is. Yes, he's an asshole. Yes, he does reprehensible things. Yes, he has strength that borders on supernatural. Yes, he introduced us to the SNK boss. But at the end of the day, Geese is a very human villain. A human villain with human ambitions, human interests, and human flaws. We have seen the enemy, and it is us. I'm the Quarter Guy, and honestly, Geese has definitely earned his popularity with the fanbase. So I wasn't surprised at the positive reaction when the trailer marking his appearance in KOF 14 dropped. And judging from his team's ending, I don't think he's going away anytime soon. Every Pokemon fan knows the old slogan, gotta catch 'em all, right? Well, that's only if you care about filling the Pokedex. But come on, there's over 800 of the things, including version exclusives, legendaries, mythical Pokemon you can only get from events. Ain't nobody got time for that! Next time, top 10 least favorite Pokemon. It's game time!